Well, in some weird twist of fate, I actually have no physical copies of my top books on ancient history that I read in 2023. Not sure that's ever happened before for one of these videos. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and thank you so much for taking some time to talk about books with me. And in this video, we're going to be going over my 3 favorite ancient history reads that I finished in 2023. I think all these actually came out in 2022, so they're all actually fairly new, which is actually really cool. Do wish publishers would put out more stuff on, like, you know, the ancient Near East and things like that. And for those who are new to the channel, I define my, like, ancient history reading as pretty much anything before the classical period, before like Greece and Rome and stuff, and pretty much any other culture like during that time period and before. I guess not like the barbarian cultures of like the Romans and stuff. I'd count them more classical, but still, anyways, I digress. But let's just get on with the books here. Which, like I said, it was weird. I think one was an audiobook, one was a library book, and I think 2 library books and 1 audiobook. So yeah, I didn't end up with any physical copies. It's so weird. All right, let's start up. Only number 1 is number 1. 2 and 3 could probably be interchanged and stuff. But the first up, we got The Persians, The Age of the Great Kings by Lloyd Llewellyn Jones. And this is a really cool, just complete overview of the Persian Empire. You deal with a lot of kind of the early, kind of sketchy, shady Achaemenid kind of history. Obviously, there's a lot of how do I say it? There's a lot of myths and legends, especially dealing with like Cyrus the Great and stuff, kind of his like early upbringing and whatnot. But he kind of delves into that quite a bit. There's a lot of really good social and cultural history in the Persians here. I think the shtick the author was trying to do here with his particular work on the topic was he was trying, and he kind of explicitly says this, he's trying to not utilize the Greek sources like as much and let the Persians tell their own story through pretty much all the other availability, which might be like archaeology, a few Persian sources, things like that. The problem there is you still have to deal with the Greek sources a lot, just because that's primarily like the textual evidence that has come down to us in a lot of situations. But like I said, he does do a really good job at trying to limit that, I guess. It just kind of, you just know that that's where he's getting some of the information from. And sometimes it's cited, and sometimes you kind of just assume that that's where the information came from, which I think is kind of a little weird. But like I was saying, you deal a lot with social history, and with the Persians, you can do that pretty well. Just even things like, the mail through like rain and sleet and snow, wow, geez, I already forgot. I probably should have memorized that before I did the video. It's where like the U.S. mail like motto basically comes from, is we just like stole it from the Persians because they actually had a cool like mail system like that. But one critique, I don't even know if it's so much a critique, just a really odd, I guess, insert into the book. There was a lot of like kind of modern Iranian history and kind of like, I guess, tying that into like Persian history and stuff, which I wouldn't say it was off-putting. It was just very, I guess I've never read anything quite like that, where it's like a pretty standard, not super academic, obviously, but, a nice popular history. And then it's just like, I've read a couple other books, actually, now that I think that we're like, I read a book on Caligula, where the last chapter was basically just comparing him to like Donald Trump and stuff, and how that like kind of worked and like didn't work in different situations. And anyways, and this one was dealing with sort of, with the Iranian Revolution and the Shah of Shahs, like before that and stuff, and how, Cyrus and the different seal under seals and stuff were like pretty well regarded in Iran and everything. Like I said, it was actually interesting. I wouldn't call it like a pro or con. Like I said, it's just kind of unique. The only real, I guess, quibble I'd have with the book is he definitely included times where like the Persians were kind of tools, and were pretty terrible. Pretty much every ancient culture, there is no good ancient culture like during this time period or before, even for quite a while afterwards. And he does mention a lot of their kind of like flaws and stuff, but they're glossed over like really fast. Almost like if you like, if you skim a little bit, you probably miss it. So I guess it's more just making sure you always are objective with the subject matter, kind of going into it. But like I said, overall, really highly recommended, really good modern work on the Persians. All right, next up, pretty much the same kind of idea here, but instead of Persia, we're dealing with the Assyrians, which this is actually the first full book I read on Assyria itself, where they're not just kind of included in like a Near Eastern study. And we got Assyria, The Rise and Fall of the World's First Empire by Eckhart Fromm. And this one was really fun. You kind of got the same idea. You're just dealing with Assyria from beginning to end. And this one actually has a huge history because you have the kind of the old Assyrian Empire, where you're dealing with actually a really cool like trading colony, in like the Hittites and the Anatolian stuff, which is actually really cool. Dealing to like their dark age where they kind of almost like cease to exist, and then the Neo-Assyrian Empire under like Tiglath-Pileser II and stuff that most people are like aware of. They're like the biblical Assyrians. The one critique I did have with this book, and this is one of the only times you'll ever hear me say this like on my channel with like my history reads and stuff, is I felt like the military history was like really lackluster in stuff, I guess, compared to like other parts of the book. And normally that's the part I care like the least about as far as like reading about different cultures and all that kind of stuff. However, the Assyrians are basically known as like the militaristic like Bronze Age, Iron Age like society. They're the ones that they're kind of like the Roman Empire of their day in a way, where people would literally just surrender before actually like fighting battles with them, like when they showed up and things like that. And were pretty like innovative with like siege warfare and stuff back in the ancient Near East. Like that wasn't much of a thing until they came along and whatnot. But like I said, that's pretty much the only time you'll ever hear me say like a book didn't have enough military history in it, and that was like a flaw. Usually it's the other way around, and it's just all like political military narrative and stuff. However, that didn't mean the book had tons of like the actual like kind of good stuff, dealing with like what life was actually like, going through like the different textual evidence, the archaeology and stuff, which I just found really, really amazing. Like I said, I've never actually read a full book on just the Assyrians until then. This might be one I might like if I ever see it, maybe like in a used bookstore or something. I probably will pick it up. I'm not sure if I'd reread it, but I might like peruse a couple of the different chapters just for like a freshening up on different topics and stuff. But yeah, I just really, really like this one. Highly recommended if you want to learn about Assyria. Definitely one of the like kind of more lesser known ancient Near Eastern cultures. Yeah. All right, and then number one, we have Weaver, Scribes, Kings, a new history of the ancient Near East by Amanda Podany. So I've read her very short introduction book on the ancient Near East, as well as listened to her she did a great course, I think, on ancient Mesopotamia from the great courses and stuff. So I actually knew a little bit about her, or I guess some of her work and stuff. So I was really looking forward to this one. This one was actually a pretty big beast as well. I think it was like 600-ish pages or something. And this is sort of dealing with the ancient Near East as a whole. Sort of, I mean, beginning to end is very kind of like abstract. I think her criteria was mostly just like, if they were using cuneiform, that was basically considered, the ancient Near East. So overall, it's like, dealing with kind of the, the shadows and stuff of like culture and civilization in Mesopotamia, down to like Sumer, and then all the way through to a closing with Persia. Not as much on Persia as like obviously like the book on Persia, but dealing heavily with Babylonia, kind of the age of the great powers. We had Hittites, was it New Kingdom Egypt, and like Mitanni and stuff, like all dealing with each other. Things like that. Just really, really enjoyed it. Definitely my favorite book on ancient history that I read in 2023. Was a really cool aspect of this book is obviously you still have some of the political narrative history kind of going on, but in a lot of the chapters, the author, what she tried to do was bring up different characters that we've discovered through like archaeological writings and stuff, whether that's like a trader or like a craftsperson or a priestess and stuff like that, and kind of rebuilding a whole topic based around that person's like life that we've been able to kind of like reconstruct through different things like that. So just really, really awesome, just kind of seeing how people actually like lived and what is it like to actually live in the the Ur-3 dynasty and stuff like that. Definitely my favorite. I didn't even have like really when I looked through my notes, there was basically nothing to like critique about the book. So this is also one I will be picking up if I ever see it like in a physical copy. This one might be one I would reread, and I would dare say this is probably going to be the one I'm going to start recommending people when they ask me. Not that I have people like always lining up to ask me about the ancient Near East and stuff, but I often get a lot of like history book recommendations and stuff, or questions about like what to read and stuff. And for people that aren't afraid to just like dive in headfirst, if you're wanting to learn about the ancient Near East, Bronze Age through the Iron Age and stuff like that, this would definitely be the kind of the one-stop shop for you for sure. So there you have it. Those are the 3 books that I guess were my favorite for ancient history reading in 2023. Let me know if you've read any of these authors or what you think of these books. Give me a like if you think they're good. You might try to pick them up one day. If you think those books suck, give me a thumbs down, I guess. I'm never afraid to just like talk to people about why they didn't think books are good and whatnot. But there you have it. Those are my favorite. And whatever you end up reading, whether they're books on ancient Near Eastern history or not, always remember, read victoriously.